Nerd Sports Podcast, where we talk history of the game, numbers, and stats. And each week we highlight a charity that's doing good. If you haven't subscribed yet, then you should, because I'm this the real deal. And you know I gotta shout out the Buffalo Bills. Turn it up to the max, sit back and relax. This the Buffalo Nerd Sports Podcast. Let go!
Hey, what is up, Bills Mafia? Welcome in to this episode of the Buffalo Nerd, your home for Buffalo Bills football with a charity on top. Brought to you by Minute Media and Fansided. So, this is going to be the, we're not going to call it the heartbreak show, none of that, because I've had a lot of conversations since this loss happened. I mean, it was tragic. Let's not kid ourselves here. This was tough. This is a tough pill to swallow. And we haven't watched the games yet this weekend. You know, this is Thursday. We're recording this here, so we haven't seen the games yet. But if Cincinnati gets blasted, I'm gonna have a real hard time really accepting it then. But as of right now, I've mentioned this to a bunch of people. I came out of that game really excited. Actually, this is a legit football team. Josh Allen is just a monster. I mean, so good. Terrible finish to an epic game. And we'll get into all of it. I want to touch base on a lot of things, kind of fill you guys in on what we're going to do kind of moving forward into the off season here. But of course, like we do every week on the show, we are going to start out by highlighting a charity. And this one I came across kind of in a joking kind of manner after the loss, that people were probably freaking out, and something like this might have been needed in that moment, but it's actually for very serious things. And if you happen to be somebody that needs this, I'm not laughing at you, but I wanted to highlight this week the crisistextline.org. So you can now put 2 and 2 together. People were freaking out, but I did feel real confident about bringing this up, because this is something that's still incredibly important. Last year was big for mental health. I don't see any reason that we need to stop that, because we're in a new year here. So I wanted to find something that was still mental health related. I know the Mafia is hurting. It's cold in Western New York. The winter months are always tougher as it is. So if you are having some kind of situation that you need somebody to talk to, check out crisistextline.org. It's a simple, very new school way for you to just shoot a text, free if you're, here in the United States, and you shoot it to their number that you'll see on their site and everything. And you can, they'll get you in touch with somebody to help you out with whatever you need, whether that's something to do with just the coronavirus, anxiety, suicide, eating disorders, emotional abuse, self-harm, anything that's going on in your life. I'm sure a lot of people had these feelings after that loss, but if you need it, it's there. And this is a cool way for you to just send a text message. They'll get in touch with you. They'll reach out with you, and they're going to get you where you need to be. So it's crisistextline.org. Again, that's crisistextline.org. And all that stuff will be in the show notes like we always do. And we'll make sure you guys can easily link over to them. But now that that's out of the way, and we've done our due diligence on making sure something great's getting highlighted, we're going to continue that because this game, came down to 13 seconds that we'll remember. It's another notch in the wood of things that absolutely we'll remember forever as Bills Mafia, but there was still opportunities, right? And there will be more opportunities. The future of the Buffalo Bills is so bright. Everything that's taking place as far as assistant GMs being hired, probably offensive coordinators leaving. There's a lot of things happening. You saw kind of the trend last year. Even this year, when we release people, other teams are picking them up. There's a lot of great things happening right now. We fell a game short of where, 2 games short of where we really wanted to be, right? But the ultimate goal was to get back to that AFC championship again and get our shot at getting in a Super Bowl. We lost that 1 game early. I believe that was probably the 2 best teams in the NFL that played that day, in that in that game, and hopefully, the Chiefs win. But I'd like to see Cincinnati knock them out, or at least them not win the Super Bowl. Again, especially with it being San Fran and the Rams on the other side, it would be somebody new winning it for a change again. So I'd be down for that. But let's kind of like dive into this a little bit. We're not going to go crazy in this one because it's, you all watched it. It was a big game. I mean, everybody and their brother was watching it. We were there on the cusp. But let's chat about Josh Allen for a moment, because my God, is he good? Like I feel like we've won the lottery with Josh Allen, because he feels like that guy that's going to just take us there, and it's going to eventually happen. I mean, in this game, you twice went to him and said, "Hey man, we need you to, there's not a lot of time left. We need you to take it down and win the game for us." And both times he went down and put up the points necessary to take the lead and give this team the opportunity. You couldn't have asked for it to set up better at the end. I mean, of course, if we were up by more points, that would have been great. But for the situation that we were in, you couldn't have asked for much better. We set it up. We got the field goal, that secures you overtime. And then if they hit the miracle touchdown, you're toast, right? But you feel like you've shored up your opportunity to at least fight another day, right? And we did, in fact, have to fight another day in this one. And I don't want to get into the whole 13 seconds too much on this. My opinion of this is, we don't know the other way. The other way, it could have happened the same. So who knows? I mean, whether the decision was right or wrong. Me personally, I felt like just we should be able to stop him for 13 seconds. So I was okay with kicking the ball out. I also would have been okay with the squib, but the way that we were tackling in that game, I see what the reasons why we just said kick it out. We should be able to do this, and we didn't. The one piece I didn't like about it was that we called timeouts to set up to get burned by 20 yards twice. But besides that, we still once again had an opportunity in overtime, and the defense just happened to have their worst day of the year, quite frankly. But Josh Allen played phenomenal. I mean, passer ratings breaking history, 9 touchdowns, 0 interceptions he had thrown, in the postseason. I mean, he was on. It felt like if we would have won that game, we were going to win a Super Bowl. Like that's what I was feeling in at the time, and I had in my head going in before that game even started was, if we win here, we are primed and we are confident we are playing like a Super Bowl champion. And I thought we would pull it off. Obviously, it didn't happen that way, but you still shout out Josh Allen for a phenomenal game. Gabe Davis, obviously, the 4 touchdowns. Gabe's going to be a monster for us in the future. I felt bad for Stephon Diggs in this game. You really, especially after like the picture last year of like, God, he wants to be back. He wants to beat him. And he just didn't get much action. Now, granted, we were scoring points in this, that, and the other, but there was those couple series earlier on where we ran for 3 consecutive plays and things like that. And to me, that was things that were more costly in this game than anything else, because when you don't score those points there, you never know what's going to take place and how the game could have played out. But I felt like those couple drives where we just ran. I was like, what are we doing here? And why is Stephon Diggs not involved? So I feel bad for Stephon to have his season end that way. I don't doubt that he's going to come, slamming back again next year. He's phenomenal. His connection with Allen is got room to go still, I think. So very good game from him. You didn't see much out of Singletary again, but realistically, he had been playing so well and he performed when he had the ball, but they didn't use him a lot. But again, we had a couple big play touchdowns, and Josh and Gabe Davis were on a different level. So that kind of takes the other pieces of the puzzle away. Offensive line, they did a nice job. You can see with 13 seconds left when they panned over to Chris Jones on the sideline that he thought the game was over, and that defense had not done its job in that day, and it had not. If the Bills would have had a chance to get that ball, they probably would have proven that the Chiefs defense was still not capable of stopping them at the moment either. But they did not perform well. The offensive line had a very nice game again, so kudos to them as well. I mean, all in all, yes, it was a loss. The offense didn't really do anything negative in this game, right? So we can't really pin it on them. And one thing I will say about the 13 seconds for sure was Sean McDermott, I know we've questioned him in the past on, his decision making and things like this, but this postseason, he was a completely different football coach. Going forward on the fourth downs, those things of that nature. He was aggressive in the way that he approached this game, and he went into it with the idea of we are going to have to score points to win this game, and he committed to that early in that game. So, and going forward early on the fourth down there and things of that nature, I think questioning him later on the decision here in the end, after watching the poor tackling performance that he was seeing, I can't really blame him. But this offense is going to be pretty dynamite, but new next year. I think realistically, offensive line wise, hopefully we'll sure that up. But there's some free agents there that will start hitting as we get into the offseason. I'm not sure that we're going to see Beasley and Sanders back again next year. So there's going to be some different things going on here. But overall, the offense played a very good game. Had a great season altogether. I mean, great numbers. We were in the playoffs again. I mean, that's what we're hoping for every year. It's going to be interesting to see, what all happens here in the next few weeks with the coaching moves and everything. But I'm excited for this offense moving forward. I think anybody that listened into the pregame about coming up to this one, I said there was one way to stop a fast, high-powered offense, and that's to tackle. And my God, the defense chose a terrible day to not tackle. It was just bad. There was a lot of missed tackles. The speed really beat us, and it was beating us because it was getting through arm tackles and it was doing things of that nature. The defensive line, even though they've had a great season and they did get a lot of pressure, we once again just couldn't contain them all the way or bring them down enough. So it was rough. The number one defense really just had a bad night, and unfortunately, it was against a high-powered offense. And in the end, they got the ball one more time than we did, and that's all that it came down to in this game. I really honestly thought when we went into overtime that our defense would bow up one time and at least make them kick a field goal. Right, I thought we might be able to make that happen. Like when they had that big play and we got down inside the 20 there, and I'm like, we're going to stuff them right here, and we're going to get the ball and come back down. And then just, again, couldn't make it happen that day. But overall, this defense played it. They had a phenomenal year too. When you're the number one overall defense in the league in a pass-happy league where you played a lot of good teams because of where we finished last season. We played the Chiefs already during the season. We played Tennessee during the season. We played the Colts, New England twice. I mean, we've played against good football teams during the season here and to finish one overall. That's nice. It didn't pan out. I mean, they looked good in the wild card round, but it just didn't pan out this last week against the Chiefs. And that unit is going to look a little different next year too. I'm not sure what's going to happen, with Leslie. I like Leslie a lot, and I think that his defense is good, and the concept is we have really good players and just let them execute, right? And I just feel like and we had a lot of the rush this year too. Actually, the pressure rate was way high this year for this team. So I think he's kind of finding a thing, kind of the range with this defense. And there won't be a ton of moving parts to it, but there are going to be some pieces that are going to be adjusted. Mainly, maybe in the linebacker room, we'll see. There's some big time free agents over there Levi Wallace he stepped up and he played well. So the defense to me, kind of as we wrap up into getting ready to go on this free agency period, is Levi Wallace had a good year. I mean, he's a key piece. I think you're going to have to make decisions about Ed Oliver, who had a great year, just always was. You could see him every game, right? Edmonds it's a question mark at this point. I mean, it may depend on how much he wants to be paid, things of that nature. There's one piece to the puzzle I think that the defense could use, which would be like just that final thing that would make them almost indestructible, is just the dude that wrecks havoc. Like whether it's at the linebacker position or it's on the D line, and Oliver had a nice season in that approach, and maybe he can develop even more into that Aaron Donald style of player where he just disrupts things. But the 49ers, when you watch them, they're not a great offensive team, but when you watch their defense, you see Fred Warner run around. You know where he is. I mean, I'd like a playmaker type like that on the Bills, and we've given Edmonds a lot of chances to do that, and he's still a young guy, and maybe he can develop into that still. I mean, I'm not saying we need to dump Edmonds. We'll get into that as we move through the season here, of the off season, excuse me, but there something needs to change. It feels like a little bit on the defense. I mean, I'm not going to complain if we can come out and be the number one defense again because of what we've built on the offensive side of the ball. I think that we mesh enough, right? So, and you get Trey coming back, and things of that nature potentially. So this defense though laid the egg on the day we didn't really need it, I guess, and it's not like the Chiefs don't put up points, right? So I mean, not granted, it took them a little while against Pittsburgh, but they still put up points against Pittsburgh. So it's not like they're not a team that's just putting up points on everybody. So it was just not a great day. Special teams, it's just, to me, it has to be addressed in the off season. The punting position, I'm not sure that we'll really too deeply address that because he wasn't like completely terrible. I mean, there were some real bad moments in there and things of that nature. I think they might look for maybe a bigger leg again that's got the skill set of him, so when it is windy, he can still pump it down there the way that we need, because I'm not sure that he does. And we need to find something in the return game. I know it's not happening every week where guys are making plays in the return game and it's changing games and stuff, but there's a lot to do with field position that guy on return does. Andre Roberts gave us very nice starting field position for a few years. So it does make a difference. So I do think that we need to address that. Bass, just keep kicking, man. The kid's great. He's going to be fine. And all in all, the special teams unit, I don't know if we'll see a change there because coverage-wise, they were decent, except for that punt against Tyreek Hill. But again, you're talking about all-world talent, and you hung it up to him, and who knows if that was supposed to happen at all, right? Maybe he wasn't supposed to keep it in bounds at all, and he did. So I think that it should be addressed in some form or fashion. They didn't do anything in that game that cost us really either way, so not a bad game on that end, except for giving up that big return to Hill, which we hadn't done much all season. So it's done. I mean, we have to accept that the season's over now officially. The press conferences have been done. Brandon Beane just did his press conference. I mean, so we're finished up. We're going to be heading into off-season mode. We're going to do the same over here at the Nerd. We'll keep highlighting charities each week. Going to kind of break down the roster here in the next couple episodes as we move forward. As kind of touched on, there's quite a few free agents on our roster right now that some of these guys played good games. They're young. And they might be cheap, right? So that's a lot of stuff that we're going to have to consider moving forward now that we're paying Josh. And, we want to keep other pieces around and maybe get a playmaker on defense that, like we talked about. But as we went into that game, I said to everybody, make sure that you enjoy it because we went so many years without it, right? So still enjoy it. We have a great football team. I don't see anything happening where we're not going to be right back in the mix again next season. The AFC is going to be tough for a while now, though. I mean, we do need to understand that this AFC is stacked. It's got nice young quarterbacks. There's a lot of playmakers in the AFC, and so it's going to be a challenge. And when you finish at the top, you have to play the best every season, right? So we got to be ready to perform. But I'm excited moving forward. This is a very good football team still. We got a lot of playmakers. It'll probably be some time for some of the guys that have been with us for a while. Might be time for them to move on. And we kind of churn into the next chapter. But so that's going to kind of do it for this week. Didn't really title the show with it. It's kind of the recap, what we're going to do moving forward. The next couple of weeks, expect kind of like a breakdown offense, defense, as we're talking about free agents and what I think we should kind of do moving forward. We'll obviously keep track of what's going on in, the playoffs and things of that nature, the Pro Bowl that is just stupid. And then it wants to come and beg our quarterback who it didn't want to put in to come and play. No thanks. But thank you everybody for following along with the show, as you guys always do that are listening in. Last week we had our best episode again last week. The numbers each week, there's more and more of you listening and following. Did over like 1,500 downloads last week with the show, so really appreciate you guys listening in. If you haven't left reviews or anything, or you're not following, subscribing, favoriting, all that kind of stuff, I'd appreciate it if you do. It helps everything kind of bump up with the show. Make sure that you guys are heading over to buffalolowdown.com, all off season, keeping up with everything that the guys are putting out over there. And of course, everything I'm doing, the show notes and everything, everything is over at the buffalonerd.com. You can pick up sweatshirts, whatever you're looking for over there, that type of stuff. Donate to the charities, and those things are all over there at the website as well. And of course, again, if for any reason you got anything going on, check out crisistextline.org. You can shoot them a message through your phone just like anybody else, and you can find some answers or get some help on the other side there for you. All right, everybody, that's going to do it for this week. Thanks so much, and of course, go Bills.
Make sure you leave a review and subscribe so you never miss another episode. We'll see you next time. Leg out!